First thing you need to know is, well, obviously, if something is stuck, it's unconscious patterns, because if they were conscious, you would have changed them. So the things that keep us stuck are unconscious. Now, how unconscious beliefs get formed is like this. First of all, you don't have just one brain. You've got at least three running around up there. And you've got the big shiny lobes, the cerebral cortex. We're so very proud of as human beings. It's shiny, it's all wrinkly. It's one of the few contexts where the more wrinkles you have, the better. It's we're very attached to this as human beings. We love to like lord that and our opposable thumbs over the rest of the animal kingdom and create Cuisinarts. And this is what does things like abstract thought and meaning. Loves to make meaning. Creativity, time. We're the only creatures who do time. Time happens up here. That's why you will never see an antelope with a day timer. This is not fully developed until somewhere between 20 and 25. Okay? You've got your emotions, your limbic system comes online somewhere around birth, depending on the person and the research. Our experiences, it's before birth, but that's okay. Then you have the oldest part of the brain, what some people call the reptile brain, up and running in utero. We share this with every creature on the planet. And its main function, its main distinction is it's got basically one criteria. Are we dead? If not, we're fine. Those are the two distinctions, dead or fine. There's no range. There's no, I'm mostly okay, I'm having a few issues. No, you're either dead or not dead, and not dead is good. Okay, that's all it cares about. This part of the brain cares about quality of life. This part of the brain, the cortex, it goes to seminars, it joins book clubs, it watches Oprah, it has plans for a future. This part of the brain just checks for quantity of life, not quality. Pulse and respiration. If we're breathing, we're good. This part of the brain loves change, growth, sharing. This part of the brain just wants to not be dead, does not like change. Change bad. Because if what you're doing right now is not killing you, it's better than anything else. It has a 100% success rate. Your toes could be slowly being eaten away, but if you're not dying, it's still better than anything else. Because anything else has a less than 100% survivability probability. Does that make sense? Does not like change. Loves to share. Does not share. My rock. Anytime you put your coat or your purse on a chair, my rock. This is good reptile behavior. Does not share. It's territory marking. So human beings come along, and by the way, you cannot tell. The cortex is not online for the first 3 months of life really at all. Because there are babies who are, sadly, there are babies who are sometimes born without a cortex, and they can't tell until somewhere between 1 and 2 months old. They can't tell. There's no difference. Because you can survive without a cortex. Some people have even said you can run for office without one. But most of the things that people believe about themselves and the world are in place by age 3, and pretty much all of it by 6. There are really not new beliefs formed after that. There are just refinements of the old ones. And those beliefs, if you do not die, and I'm guessing none of you did, this part of the brain will regard whatever those beliefs are as, because you're not dead. They could be god-awful beliefs. They could be beliefs of, I am worthless, I deserve nothing, I am worm dung. But if you're not dead, this will regard them as, and it will seek to maintain those forever. It will run those automatically forever. Later on, this part of the brain might go on and develop and get a sense of life and a sense of maybe I'm not so bad and maybe I do deserve things. But this will continue to run what it didn't die from until it does actually die. This having an awareness does not change the pattern this runs. How many of you have had some sort of awareness, some sort of epiphany about who you were or what you deserved or the kind of partner you wanted or the kind of work you wanted, and it didn't change the pattern. You still kept having the same experience over and over and over again. Because we are designed, we have this, some of us think it was some sort of joke. Oh, let's take some of this and put them together and see what happens. Take somebody who can imagine things and imagine a different future and give them neurology that will not let them change things easily. And then watch the hilarious antics that ensue. Now, some things obviously change. We've all experienced change. Those are usually things that didn't have a whole lot of survivable threat associated with them early on. So in the worst case scenario, if a kid grows up getting hit on the head with a hammer every day and they don't die, as far as this part of the brain can tell, a daily dose of hammer hitting proven to be survivable. Not getting hit on the head with a hammer, it has no data. It can't imagine how that would be better because it does not imagine. This imagines, this does not. This has a sense of a past, a present, a future. It can make stuff up. This, there is only now, and everything is right now, everything is true, and everything is real. There is no made up. So this part of the brain will imagine something. This part of the brain will regard it as true and real. And if it does not look survivable, this part of the brain will freak out. Will not allow that. So, like I said, kid grows up getting hit on the hammer every day on the head. They go off, they leave the house at 18, they go a few days without getting hit on the head with a hammer. This part of the brain starts to get very nervous. They'll find themselves hanging around hardware stores looking for people with hammers. And if they can't get somebody to play that game with them, they'll spend a whole lot of money in therapy explaining this behavior. But as soon as this happens, this part of the brain is good for another 23 hours and 59 minutes because it's had its minimum daily requirement of hammer hitting. Now, the form of hammer hitting varies. In some families, it's actual hammers. In other families, it's shame or worthlessness or tension or stress or a lack. You can fill in the blank from your childhood of choice, but whatever this grew up surviving, it will regard as survivable. And the more survival was on the line, the more this pays attention. If it was a relatively low stress environment, then this is less engaged. The higher the stress level, the more this kind of leaps into action. And the more vigorously it strives to recreate the circumstances that almost killed it so it cannot die again and again and again and again. How are we doing? Okay. So like I said, this having an epiphany about something does not change the patterning this has. And as I said, this can't tell the difference between a real, imagined, or remembered picture, sound, feeling, smell, or taste. Simple example. How many of you, it's Shark Week. There you are at home, in your Barcalounger, looking at your 60-inch plasma TV. This part of your brain knows it's a plasma TV, and you're 20 miles inland. Chance of shark attack, relatively low. This part of the brain sees a shark on the screen and has a response. Anytime your heart rate gets elevated, watching a movie, watching TV, even reading a book. I read the book, not even the book, the reader's condensed version of Jaws in a suburb of South Miami, and was like this in the bed so that the sharks couldn't get me because my brain was imagining the sharks. And this part of the brain knows it's imagining. This part sees the imagined picture, and for it, everything is true, everything is real, and everything is right now. And it freaked out. It was trying to protect me from the Reader's Digest sharks. Okay, heart rate goes up. Now what happens is this part of our brain is always running old movies from our past below conscious awareness, and this is seeing them and reacting to them, and then this part of the brain has to account for that. So you go to, let's say you work for somebody, you go to ask for a raise, your heart rate starts to elevate. Unless you are actually working for someone who's been known to kill the people that work for them, that level of response is not rational. But this part of the brain will substitute having asked for things in the past and what dangerous things that caused. It will run those movies, throw you back into being 2, 3, 4, 5, fill in the age of your choice in regards to an authority, and it will freak out. And this part of you has to try and operate on top of most of your neurology wanting to run out the door and hide. Okay? So what we're going to be doing this weekend is uncovering some of the beliefs that are running and creating new neurological associations. Now, one of the good things about this not knowing the difference between a real, imagined, and remembered picture, sound, feeling, smell, or taste, if you find out what it's running, you go put in some more appropriate and current pictures, sounds, feelings, smells, tastes. It does not have the sophistication to go, hey, that's not how it was. Because everything is true, everything is real, and everything is right now. And it's like rewriting software. When you change the old pictures and sounds and feelings that are running, Americans don't do so many smells and tastes, but when you change that old sensory input that this is experiencing, your experience changes. And it stays automatically different. That's what makes these changes immediate, and it makes them last, because it's like you're rewriting the software. And to do that, you need to know what the software was it was originally written in. So that's what we'll be doing this weekend.